I'm Devyani Vaishampayan. I still think of myself very much as a senior HR director because my experience for the most part has been large international businesses, worked in senior roles, have done 2 group HR director roles, and been very international. So that's primarily who I am. However, I think what I now do is something really unique and interesting. I run an angel investment fund where my investors are all senior HR directors, and we invest in HR, technology, or digital startups. So I think technology has been influencing HR now for the last 20 or 30 years. We've all been through times where HRIs first came, and then you had the large systems. And so if you look at it, I think historically over the last 15 or 20 years, big data, automated, large-scale systems was really what technology was all about. The trend, however, has started changing. And if you look at the last few years, it was really all about social media. It was about mobile connectivity. And it was also about analytics. When I say analytics, it's more data analysis and insights from what you had. So that's, I think, been the exposure to technology that a lot of us in HR have had over the last few years. Things are, however, changing quite rapidly. Right now, AI is big, and we'll talk more about that a little later. But also new technologies are coming in. So bots, for example, is something I'm seeing quite a bit. So in terms of currently what's emerging and is being used, but is still early stages, I would say is AI and bots. And the next few years, there's going to be even more, I think, some very exciting technologies that I already see evidence of. Blockchain will be one, robotics, and of course, augmented reality, AR, VR, which we're already seeing a little bit of that in terms of technical training, but I think you're going to see a lot more of AR, VR applications. In terms of what I look for from an investment perspective is really anything in the HR life cycle, and that really includes a whole lot of things, starting with organization design, you have then recruitment, then performance management, then you have development, talent management, then leading on to employee engagement, reward, recognition, wellness, diversity and inclusion, and then of course outplacement, exit management. So I think that technically is the remit. Having said that, in terms of digital disruption, there are some very clear areas of impact. Not surprisingly, I think recruitment is still the biggest area where you see a lot of technology being used and new products and solutions. In fact, in terms of startup activity, last year there were over 250 startups in the area of recruitment alone. And again, in most organizations, that's the biggest pain point. That's where the volume is. That's where the business wants to see quick results and is impatient. And so clearly, it's also an area where HR can almost demonstrate that it's able to add value far more quickly because it's very quick and effective. So a lot of activity in the recruitment space, particularly I think cutting down recruitment times, which has always been there, but now using predictive analytics and AI. I mean, it's really, I think today, no recruitment solution can afford to come onto the market if it doesn't have an element of AI and analytics. Bots is another aspect that you see a lot of now recruitment applications coming up with bots. Very fascinating, and I think if it's highly likely over the next decade that recruitment could be really a hugely automated machine learning led function. The chances are that fewer and fewer actual people recruiters will be actually needed. Of course, they're always going to be needed, but the numbers will go down. So recruitment, I think, continues to be a very active area. The second actually interesting area, and that currently is seeing a lot of disruption and change, is learning and coaching. Now, when you think of technology and learning, I think LMSs come to mind, and I've seen, well, personally, I've not seen a single LMS that has really enthused me in terms of, oh, this is great. I mean, there's a lot of claim, but most cases it's a data dump, and not very consumer friendly or user friendly. What's different right now is LMS learning systems that are quite targeted. So I've seen one solution that's really targeted for what I call as SMEs. And what they do is they bring together curated solutions. And based on a very fixed budget per employee, the employee is then free to choose what they want. So would they prefer to read a book or go on a course or, have some online coaching? But increasingly, I think employees are being empowered through these kind of solutions. And also parallelly, the solution provider has tied up with content providers and therefore is lowered costs. So for an organization also, there is a win there. The other trend I'm seeing is a lot of these coaching or development products stay with the employee and get taken with them when they move from job to job. So it's no longer the organization who owns it, it's really the employee. And that's again in line with today's millennials who want development, but who want to do it their own way and see it as a lifelong process. The third interesting use in coaching is really more of whether it's online, whether it's bots, so what I call as virtual coaching. And again, some very interesting products and solutions there around team effectiveness, around online coaching. So for me, currently, development and coaching, I think, has seen a big change, and there's lots available in the market, and which you can adapt for different needs. The two areas that I haven't seen enough, and it would be great to see some more digital innovation in that space, is performance management. Now, when I say performance management, I think feedback is quite a crowded area. So there's again quite a few solutions available around employee engagement, feedback, making it really quick, having gamification as part of that. So some really innovative stuff. But the actual performance management and the pain points that organizations experience. For example, it's great to give feedback when everything's going well, but how do you help a line manager when he or she has to give a tough message? Probably a little more in that space, I think, is something organizations could do with help on. The second area that I don't see really enough is diversity and inclusion. And probably D&I is a more topical theme in the UK, though of course the Me Too movement has shown that it's actually getting a level of awareness which is far rapidly expanding. And again, D&I is not really, the ideal way to do it is not a separate initiative by itself. So I have seen solutions where it helps you remove bias in the recruitment process, it helps you give feedback. There's a very interesting solution I'm seeing which uses augmented reality for D&I training. And so there is a scenario, and when you put it on, different people see the same character differently. And their own reaction then is based on whether they see someone who's brown, black, or old, young. And via that, there's very powerful learning on how there's unconscious bias or how you tend to see things differently just based on how the person looks. But I think having some more solutions in the D&I space would be great. And finally, wellness. I think wellness is a hugely growing area. And when I say wellness, you have physical, and of course, I think physical wellness, is very much a consumer area. Everyone's seen wearables, Fitbits. I think it's all around us. Mental health is rapidly taking up, a lot of attention, and I'm seeing some innovative products coming up. And also financial well-being. I think some really good products that are being used by organizations to help employees manage their financial state of affairs, reduce stress. And so I think lots happening. Yeah.